We are live, black man and black woman. How y'all brothers feeling today?
My spirit is strong.
Greatness, greatness.
Good.
Definitely strong.
All right.
Really
Feel
strong.
great. In pursuit of greatness. Feeling great.
In pursuit of greatness. I like that. That's a dope one. So, once again, we are back. Welcome to another episode here at the School of Urban Philosophy, where we are always straight up, straightforward, and straight to the point, where the information is liberating and sobering. We welcome you. We welcome you. Welcome you all. As always, we ask that you like this video, share the video. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to the channel. And just know that the information that we disseminate here at the School of Urban Philosophy is designed and geared towards the total liberation of African people by way of bringing you the truth, straightforward, straight up, and straight to the point. Black family, PLM, how y'all doing, man? How y'all feeling? Y'all looking good? Let me hear y'all voice.
Thank
I need to hear that black vibrational voice coming from you.
Hotep, peace and blessings. BB for Hodier.
Peace and blessings. BB for ODA. Yes. Those are beautiful words there.
Race first.
What's up, everybody? Race first.
Hotep, race first, race first.
Peace
How you
and
feel?
power.
Peace and power. Beautiful words, beautiful words. Beautiful words. We got some
What's
folks.
up, black family?
Hotep.
What's up, Baba?
What's up? So you know how I like to do, man. I like to just jump into something and give it our all. You know, that's the best way to do it. Is to bring it raw. You know, I like that brutal truth. Like bring that brutal truth, man. That's what we are. We are black because we are first, and we are black because we are the essence. You know, if you erase blackness, you get nothing else. Nothing can exist in the context of existence without black. So that's the reason why we got to always wear black. We got to shout black. We got to stomp black. We got to represent black. We got to be black. We can't apologize for it. And we can't put our heads down when we're representing black. What do y'all think about that? Do you think that the black man and the black woman should be apologizing for being beautifully and boldly black?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's our birthright.
That's how we're going to do it then. That's how we're going to do it. What's on your chest for the night? You know, I got 1,000 things on my chest, but I want to see what's on your chest.
So, Bob, I always, because like I said, you always be coming in at the right time on social media, right? And I seen that last little comment that you put out dealing with how we fight so hard for European, accomplishments, right? But when it comes to being appreciated by our own people and doing the work that creates that appreciation, we don't fight for that, and that kind of resonated with me because like everything that I do, it has to be in alignment with doing the work that brings us closer to a BB448, brings us closer to having that liberation, having our own nation, having our own land, and being in that mindset, having that mentality that what we do is for the interest and the advancement of us, right? And like you said, to be unapologetic, and I think like race first, I think that by living in those ways, we're basically putting politically out there that we're unapologetic about loving us.
Yes, all day long. So yes, I put that out there, and I said, too many of our people, even some of the people who we deem to be the best amongst us, thrive for European accolades, but we feel like black appreciation is not enough. See, I'm always in the reverse. See, I would take black appreciation, black support anywhere, all days, over any accolades that those people can get, because they are children within society. I'm saying they're the last things in society, so they don't really matter. You know what I'm saying? So we have to take them off of the measuring stick. They, who are they? And I think, you know, we make a mistake to keep factoring them within our equation. They don't measure into our equation. So leave them outside the equation. You know what I'm saying? So we do what we do so we can do what? So we can be the best Africans. Right? That's why we do what we do, to be the best Africans. And African people got to recognize that we got to be able to hold up, appreciate, and support the best amongst us that's doing hardcore liberational sovereignty work. We got to support those people and let them people know that we love you. We're willing to defend you. We're going to represent you because you are doing right by us. That's what time it is. And we, those of us that's doing the work, we got to make sure that we let people know that's how we carrying it. That's how we carry it. Now, let me be very clear, because I know sometimes we can use a lot of white logic, and we start saying, well, Bob, I think that's wrong, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, that's just my accomplishment. I mean, I should be able to appreciate my accomplishment. I'm not saying that a person can't appreciate his or her personal accomplishments. What I'm saying is that if you only seeking and feel good by white accolades and as to the expense of Black appreciation, then you're in a bad shape. That's the point I'm trying to get across, right? I'm saying that, yeah, everybody gonna go out here and do what you're going to do and make your personal strides. That's okay, you know. But I feel best, me personally, I feel best when the work that I do is recognized by Black people. It's recognized by Black people rather than the other people. Now, the other people, like I say, they are non-factors in the equation. And that's what we got to push. And that's how we got to raise our children. We got to raise them that particular way. And you have to tell your child that at the earliest of ages. You can't wait late in life and try to tell it to your child. Your child got to be reared that way to know that he or she is working in the best interest of African people.
100%. I think it comes down to habit. A lot of times, you know, if we look at things like we have our morning routine, for example, sometimes we do things so habitually, we don't even take time to realize or think about what it is that we're doing. And collectively as a people, we spend so much time, what's that new word I learned this week? Ingratiating ourselves.
Oh, ingratiating
ourselves, trying to fit in, fit the mold, fit to get those accolades from white people, to try to fit into a multicultural framework. We spent a whole lot of time doing that, and in different institutions within our community have spent a lot of time doing it. It's become habitual, almost to the point that we don't look to see the effectiveness of it. We don't look at the history to see, you know, what the strengths were, what the weaknesses were, what kind of effect did it have. So I think that we have to really start to begin to study more, study the history, study our people, especially the contributions that we have done and made here in America. And in addition to that, we have to seriously sit down and think about the habits that we've grown accustomed to, and then begin to reshape, to relearn those habits, and how we can formulate a new habit that's going to allow us to seek that appreciation from our own people.
I want to add to that, when you talk about habits, right? Unlearning certain behaviors, such as when your comrades, your brothers or your sisters give you a compliment. A lot of us have been taught to just shut it down. Oh, nah. Unlearn that behavior and learn how to accept the appreciation that's coming your way, because we need to have a culture where that is normalized. You see, PLM, we got to go to Ghana. You know, y'all hear me talk about some of the trips and things that we've gone on. And when we was on the continent, we got to see brothers and sisters stop. They may talk to you. They want to compliment. They're going to compliment your wear. Oh, sister, who did your hair? What fine girl. It is a culture of appreciation. It is a culture of gratitude. That's the spirit that we must have. When we travel down south, when we travel up north, you'll see our culture is rich. You know, a lot of people like to use that word diversity. Well, amongst African people in the diaspora, we are diverse. And the behaviors that we want to indoctrinate, relearn, and unlearn around appreciation is first acceptance. Accept when you do something good and you're validated by your comrades, by your community. Accept it. Learn how to give it. That is a form of reciprocity. Being able to say, I appreciate the way you was helping out. I appreciate how you was on security. I appreciate how you showed up and you was prepared. Not that we always need it, because self-validation is the most important validation. That's an insight from urban philosophy. It's one that I live by. So that fortifies you as a Black human. You understand? But when it comes to your community, and when your community validates you, accept it. Say, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you, brother. Thank you, sister. That spoke to my spirit today when you complimented me. Give that energy back to each other, because that's powerful. We got to teach our children that, and we got to unlearn that behavior and relearn that sense of camaraderie in speech and in validation.
And if I may, one of the things that worked for me was because I'm born and raised in the state of Delaware. And when I went off to college, I went to North Carolina. So, I got to give a big props to my HBCU, because at that HBCU, at North Carolina A&T State University, I remember very vividly, my first year there, I forgot white people existed in the world.
That's a beautiful thing.
It was a very interesting and crazy experience. But I remember, because me and my homeboys, we walked to the bus station to catch the bus because we wanted to go to the mall. And we was waiting for the bus, and I happened to look over and I saw a white person say, what is that? And I realized it, and then it clicked to me again. Oh, there are other people out here in this world. But I say that to say that there were several instances where what I was used to and what was a habit for me in Delaware, like walking past a person, not saying anything, just keep on walking, keep my head straight, not saying anything. It was a culture shock, if you will, to be in a place such as North Carolina, where
almost taboo.
No. North Carolina, it was different, because in North Carolina, people would speak.
Yeah.
So when I remember this very vividly, because this is one of those moments that really just like, wow, this is how we gotta be, and this is how I need to be. And this is one of the things that changed my habits, was that I was running around the campus, just working out, just on some working out tip, running around the campus. I was going this way. There was another brother coming in the opposite direction. No, I didn't know this brother, never met him before, nothing like that. But when we came up very close to each other, he put up his fist. As I rode past him, we just fist bumped and we just kept it moving. Didn't say anything. It was just one of those things where two brothers out here, we working out, we see each other, keep on doing what you're doing. That was the exchange, although no words were exchanged. And when that happened, it just made me smile on the inside, because I said, man, that's how it should be. So when it's right, you feel something on the inside, and this is how it gotta be. And from that, along with a number of other relearning environments that I've been in, learning our way, it's been a thing of mine now, where regardless if somebody speaks or they don't speak, I'm going to speak. So I'm going to speak to my people. I'm a head nod. What's up? How you doing? How you feeling? If time permits, that's, throw out a little compliment and then keep it moving. Right? That's just an aspect that I've gone through in my relearning process.
That's our culture. An exchange, if you will. We exchange your energy all day, every day. That's Black culture.
I say.
Tap. So there's something I want to say. Like Mama Gina was hitting on something, and I think it all goes back to the household, the family, right? We have to properly educate our children on what is most important, right? When we value what our enemy values, we become an enemy to our people, and that's a reality. You know, we have to stop valuing what Europeans value, because as long as we value that, we'll always, move in the manner that they move, and it will always be counter to the development of our own people. You know, so when we talking about Black appreciation, you know, when we're really doing the work, you look at your people and you feel connected, you feel whole, you feel supported, you feel loved, you don't feel alone. You know, a lot of times when we're out there and we're chasing all of these different things, like I was talking to my wife earlier, and she was telling me how a lot of our students, they don't work together because they're in that environment where as though that they go against each other. They find ways to use each other, manipulate each other, try to get over. And she's trying to teach them a simple concept of Maya, and they don't understand it because in their mind, they've been taught to, survival of the fittest, dog eat dog world. These are all sayings to me that are Eurocentric. These aren't this isn't our value system, So to what Baba was talking about, you got to measure the person's values. What are your values rooted in? If your values are rooted in white culture America and not in African life, everyday life, because what Minister Tommy was talking about was everyday African life, being able to take a jog and see another brother and recognize it's a brother and appreciate a brother that's healthy and you being healthy, being in Africa and being able, when you have a conversation with a person, they ask you about your whole family, you have a 15-minute conversation, whereas though when you walk away, you take a piece of that person with you. That's our value. That's our way, But when we over here, it's all about sabotage, backstabbing, manipulation, all of these different things that we adopted that aren't ours. So when we're in the household, we have to teach our children how to live our way. But we have to be the representation of that in everything that we do. Absolutely. When we get frustrated, we have to deal with each other in an African-centered way when we're frustrated. Not shutting down, pulling away, trying to be manipulative, trying to be angry towards each other, trying to be destructive towards each other, but saying, you know what, I need some space, let me get myself together, coming back to the table and actually communicating. Because you value the person. You value the relationship more than the situation. But that's our way. So little things like this, being able to put out these little things in the universe, don't focus so much on Europeans patting you on the back, because whatever you're doing, right, that's in their arena should only be for the interest of the advancement of your own people. If it's not in the interest of the advance your people, right, then you are a pawn that's used to destroy your people. Ashe.
Yes. So yes, real quick, for those who watching, tuning in with us, please share the video. Get your friends, get your families on here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the like button. Let's build this up so we can get this type of content out into circulation more. And that's what this is all about. Building on what Baba Disa just left off, but I would just want to put to the floor is that we have to be very careful as a people when it relates to culture. When we start talking about culture or a way of life, there is nowhere that you can stand within this particular society that's devoid of someone's way of life. Like there's nowhere you can go to escape that. So either you're going to stand within the thickness of your own way of life, or you're going to stand within someone else's way of life. Make no mistake about it. You are going to stand within someone's way of life, and you're going to function and operate according to the dictates of that way of life. Case in point, this society that we live in is an extension from the savagery and the barbarism that comes out of that icebox that we call Europe. Like this is an extension of that. This particular society was built on destruction, violence, rape, mayhem, evil, if you will. The values of this society are permeated with that. Everything about their values, the things that they value are the things that supports destruction. Case in point, manipulation for them is a virtue. See, for them, deceit is a virtue. Trickery is a virtue. Treachery are virtues. Think about the people who they study and follow. Think about that. You know, Machiavelli tells them that, and they all study him. You know, you're not getting through a political, you're not getting into none of their political arenas without studying Machiavelli and learning all the crap that he talked about, right? So we have to understand that they have structured a society based on the savagery that they come from, but they are trying to disguise the savagery with language of humanity. They're trying to use the language of civility to throw you off so you can't really see and pick up on the savagery. There is no civility in this land. The civility that's in this land is the civility that we bring to it. It's what we bring. They don't have nothing about them is civil. Nothing at all.
I say,
So we got to be very clear. Say that again, please.
I said, my bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have to be very clear when we are moving in this society, because oftentimes we're using their values, and their values are backwards. Like we think, like I say, we struggle with working together with one another because we believe that if we work together and we begin to see harmony, we think we lose our individuality in harmony. Because we believe that we need to be in conflict with each other. We believe we need to push back on one another because that's what they say. That's what they teach. That's who they are. So we struggle when we're trying to build our family structures, build organizations, especially when we get to a place of harmony and balance and order. We start struggling with ourselves. We start asking ourselves, am I being a flunky? Am I just following along? Because there's no conflict. Because there's no conflict, because we're not pushing back on each other. So we question, but that's them again. That's them inside of us, moving through us. That's them moving through us that causes us to think that way. And then what we do, we sabotage the goodness that we have. So when an elder or mama or baba, or someone that's in a leadership position come along and they say, well, listen, we need to do this, that, and other. We'll push back, just be pushing back, when in reality, there's no reason to really push back. We just push back because we've been orientated to just create conflict, because that's who they are. So we are, once again, that's them moving through us, that's causing destruction in the things that we seek to do, the thing we seek to build, because we're allowing them to be our standard inside our mind. They are the standard. And as long as we use them as our standard, we will always make mistakes. And that's what's been taking place. But the car, you can get in.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it, Bob. So yeah, basically what you were saying was just making me think about the aspect of history, because if we want to understand like why it's so important to like just be distrustful of this society, we have to know about like the origin. Like we always say, it was built off the backs of our ancestors. But what does that really mean? How is that transition from enslavement to capitalism? Like when we look at history, we will see that, Britain, they led the charge in that shift. And it wasn't because they felt compelled in their heart, like, oh, enslavement is a bad thing. We're feeling bad for these people. It became a complication for them. Our ancestors was killing white people. They was putting fear in these people's heart. It was ads that they wasn't trying to let get out because people was migrating to America. They were trying to build up America. But people was getting scared to come to certain places because black people was killing white people, rebelling, killing people, and they didn't want that. It's like it's bad publicity. So Britain was like, we seeing these different things going on in America. It's bad for business, and we have to make some type of shift. And not only that, they started seeing that the quote unquote slave trade, taking people from Africa, it was actually making it harder for them to exploit Africa because the people were being taken away. So they started looking in the aspect of, if we're going to start exploiting the resources from Africa besides the people, we need people to be on the continent in order to get them to do our work on the continent. So it was like, y'all keep taking all the people. We can't even get the gold. We can't even get the diamonds. We can't even get the salt. We can't even get these precious minerals that these people know how to get from the earth. And so at the end of the day, it was like, we got to do something. We got to shift it up. We got to switch out, and we already getting this bad name. So what they started doing is they started outlawing the slave trade. And nobody going to get exported no more for the East. Nobody's getting exported from Central Africa. And we get ready to shut down this Atlantic slave trade. And so in 1807, they started putting a pin in that stuff. And shortly after them in 1807, America followed suit and put a pin in it. No more. We're not trading no more, black people. We're going to start slowing that down. And so what they're doing right now is like trying to clean up the act. But everybody always start from emancipation. They don't know that it was a transition of these people plotting, saying, yeah, things not really looking good for business. It's really complicated to keep these people on a plantation. They keep running away. They keep killing us. It's becoming very expensive. We're not really profiting like that. Then on top of that, we want to get these resources from Africa. So we got to shift our mind and make it more sophisticated. And so when things was happening like that, I think that helps our people to be able to look at the situation completely different. Because all it is money laundering. When you got a person that's in a drug game and they want to clean up their money, what do? They go into legal business. But it's a front. It's a front. And so that's what this country is. It's just a front. Money laundering. You want to hide slavery, so you put this multicultural agenda in front of your face, in front of everybody's face, to make it seem like y'all humane. However, y'all still the same devils that came into Africa. Y'all haven't changed. Y'all won't change. But our people is not going to understand that unless we really study history. And so that's why we can't just be like, just kings and queens, or, Emancipation Proclamation. Dig deep. What's the specifics? The details matter. They're not there for no reason. The stuff I pulled from came from this book, W.E.B. Du Bois. For those of y'all that think this man was a sellout, study this book. The information I'm talking about Britain making that transition is right in here. The details matter. And so I feel like if people was, you're really serious about loving your people, we got to find out what happened to us. I'll leave it at that.
You introduced some interesting points, my brother. Beautiful points. I like that. So history is very political, and we need to understand it that way. History is very political. It's extremely political. It's ideological also. We got to understand that too. So part of the work that we have to do as people that's pushing for, some type of African sovereignty, where we say Black power, Bibi for Hodie, race first, Black nationalism, Pan-Africanism, any of those African-centered, Afrocentricity, any of those terms and concepts that we may use as Black people, we must always connect it with history. Those terms and concepts are meaningless if they're not connected to history. Our story, because our story has to be the substance inside those terms. And oftentimes, because we don't connect to our story the correct way, that's one of the reasons why we find so much confusion amongst brothers and sisters that say they Black nationalists, Pan-Africanists, Afrocentric, African-centered. We say we are these things, but we highly confused. And the confusion stems from the fact that we aren't doing what you just suggested, my brother. We're not studying. And we're not studying because someone told us we don't need to study. We've listened to one of these demagogues or one of these YouTube sensational individuals that said, man, put the books down, you don't need to study. But that individual have already did his studying, but now he's telling you not to study. So we think we don't need to study. And so we're highly confused, right? And what the confusion does, the confusion adds fuel to the exploitation and subsequent oppression of Black people, right? Our confusion have become an automated process of us enslaving ourselves on multiple levels. The confusion have done it. The confusion have done it. Because we're unclear. We don't know what happened. We don't know how it happened. We don't know when it happened. And we don't know who the perpetrators were. We're very unclear about that. And so when you're very unclear about those things, how can you mount any type of successful progressive motion? How can you even resist when you don't even know what you're resisting? You cannot do none of the above without a clear understanding of our story, a clear understanding of NGA to our way. What is our way? Who are we? That's the question we got to ask. Who are we? And where do we stand in this thing we call human society? Where do we stand in this thing? I say this right here. We stand at the apex. We stand at the apex and we stand at the front. That's who we are. That's who we. So no other people on this planet, whatever they are, can say anything about who we are. No single individual. Only we can assess, measure, critique us. Only we can do that. No other people can do it. You know why? Because all of them enters on this planet after us. They popped up on this planet, however they popped up, whenever they popped up, it's after us. It's after us. We the ones that can survive anywhere on this planet. You put us on this planet, we can survive. They couldn't even get to the North Pole. It was Matthew Henson that got them jokers there. Them jokers ain't how to get there. Matthew Henson was the one that took them there. Wherever they went at on this planet and done whatever they done, it's because of us. Even they came to this land over here, they couldn't. They came up through Florida, places like that on the eastern seaboard. They ain't know how to get nowhere into the Midwest. It's not a black man took them up through all over there. Right? It's us, man. We are the epitome of what it means to be a human being. And only we can look to us as the standard of what that is. We can't look to no one else. Nobody else out there that's walking around talking, running, defecating, urinating, reading, writing. None of them other people out there can claim to be the original human being. None of them. And people don't like to say this because the Europeans have been so crafty that we're afraid to say and speak certain truth. So we're afraid to say, well, a black man is superior. We're afraid to say that. You know why? Because they told you that if you say that, then you're a reverse racist. So we don't say it. We say, well, no, man, that's not us, man. You know, African people, man, you know, we're not going to pick up their ways and try to push superiority on nobody. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that we got to go out here and try to enslave anybody. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying that we are superior. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying we are superior. I'm saying we came first and we done it all first. So on the basis of that, we are superior. That's what I'm saying. No one have done what we've done. No one have been through what we've been through and survived. No one. You know what I'm saying? Europeans lose their money, they kill themselves. They kill themselves. Europeans can never get along. We've gotten along on that continent of Africa. We've gotten along. We built trading routes. That's what they were. We was trading all over the continent. We wasn't robbing each other. We wasn't laying out on the trade route, waiting for somebody to come down with the gold and the salt, jumping out there, cutting heads off and robbing everybody. You can't find that. But that's what they did in Europe. That's what they did all through Europe. Rape, robbed, steal, killed, murdered, enslaved. That's what they done. You don't find that in Africa. We had major trading routes from east to west. Yeah, we came from Kemet all the way over to the west coast, coming across the Sahara, all through North and South Africa. We wasn't robbing, killing, stealing, things of that nature. So yeah, we superior. Yes. When you start running out history down what we've achieved and what we've done and what we've given to the world, we better say we superior and stand doing it. They can't beat me at nothing. I don't care who they are. And even if I don't have the background that they have, right? I'm better than them, and I can get in that field and learn that background and come back and beat them. Can't beat me at nothing, none of them. That's how I feel about them. Only people I can lose against is black people. Simple as that. That's how I tell myself. I can lose against another black person, not none of them. I don't go out like that. You know what I'm saying? I stay up 10 days to learn what I need to learn to beat them. They ain't better than us. They ain't better than me. I'm not gonna ever get that to them. And that's how we got to carry, black man and black woman. We got to know that. But see, I know that, though. I stand on that. I know that to be a fact, right? I'm not trying to blow a horn or huff or puff. I know that to be a fact because you know why? Because I know their story. I know their story. They enslaved each other. They killed each other. They crucified one another. They took each other's heads off, and the Romans would cut your head off, and they would have a mile long of nothing but heads on spikes. You don't find that in Africa before them Europeans and them Arabs got over there. So I know who we are, and I know who they are. And they don't want you to know who they are. They don't want you to know who they are, but you're going to know who they are by knowing who you are. Because the clearer you are about who you are, you're able to see them. Remember that movie, They Live? That's a movie. It was called They Live, right? What's the dude named Rowdy Piper? He played in the movie. Put them glasses on, he can see them beats what they were. And that's the same thing. See, cultural lens allow you to see everybody for who they are. And that's what Dr. John McClark said. What? He said, we don't have any friends. We don't. We don't have any friends. You know what I'm saying? You can't name nobody that really got in the dirt and the mud with us against these people that was trying to push us off the planet of the earth. The Chinese, the Japanese, none of them. None of them. None of them came up with all the resources they got. You know what I'm saying? And this crap about, now we talking about, well, Harry Pete Newton, the Black Panther Party, you know what I'm saying? They was in favor of Palestine. You know, we talk about, you know, what Malcolm X was over there. Man, listen, and we got to be very clear about that. And then I'm going to pass the mic. The Israelites, Israel and the Palestinians, they're all in the same branch. They're in the same branch. When you don't know who you are and what you have endured and what you are enduring, you will think that another person's discomfort warrants your attention. Let me ask you a question. What mother would see her child under distress and then see another foreign child under distress and would stop attending to her child to go to that other child? What mother would do that? I can guarantee you not a single mother would do that. I can guarantee you that. But when we don't know that we are currently being blasted, another person's discomfort becomes greater in our minds. That's the trick. And then we'll do what? We'll pick up an argument against each other and we'll debate as to why we should align ourselves with them as if we ain't going through our own mess. I don't have no intellectual power. I don't have no analytical prowess. I don't have no spiritual substance to lend to anyone outside of the black race. I just don't have it. You know why? Because they have never had it for us. So I'm gonna land my little boat right there. Because them ancestors, they be jumping in my back, man. I be like a ventriloquist.
We see you, Bob. I know all passion. I think it speaks to what I spoke about earlier, bad habits. And one of the things that I like that is pointed out in the Akbar papers in African psychology by Dr. Naim Akbar is he talks about the nature and the aspect of kind of a way black psychology versus African psychology. And they juxtapose and they compare the two. And one of the things that he brought up, and you know, it really made me think about it, especially on my own experience, is a lot of times our people seek to just relate to oppression because we have been oppressed. So we're trying to we fixate our minds towards oppression and trying to feel that sentiment. And that is an aspect which has limited us in so many ways for so many generations, not years, not, you know, I mean, not more than a decade. We're talking about generations. So we got to be able to transcend from this aspect of looking at oppression and oppressed people to now coming into our way of thinking, as we mentioned before in GA 2, that African way of thinking. And that African way of thinking focuses on survival, not only just survival, but the ability to transform the group and the community of which you come from. So that's the African perspective, the ability of your group, of your nation, of your people to live, to survive, to be prosperous, to expand, to go into the future, to appreciate the past. Those are the and have all of that connecting in that single moment of time. That's the African way. So we got to be able to move from just this the woke mentality, the mere aspect of consciousness. We got to be able to transcend beyond that. And the only way that we can really do that is to understand who we are as a people.
I say.
Hotep. Yeah, Bob, you on fire. Definitely on fire. But to say too what Baba Tamini was talking about, right? I look at these individuals as, you know, agents of distraction. You know, what they do is they come on these social media outlets to basically distract the people from the real reality of what we're going through and what we should be focusing on. And all that does is put us in these positions where we forget our reality. We forget what we're really going through, you know, and that's why, like me, everything I do is geared towards the advancement of us. My gifts are for my people. They're not for anybody else. My skills, my talents, the things that I have, they're for my people. I'll come up 2 o'clock in the morning to go work on one of our cars. I'm not going to work on their cars. I don't care how much money they throw at me. But it's because I'm rooted in doing the work for the advancement of us. That's what we have to get in the business of. But the reason why we don't do it is because we don't take ownership when it comes to African lives. When we look at each other, we don't take social responsibility for each other. You know, we don't put each other first. That's what race first is about. Putting your people first because they are you and you are them. Anytime that you put somebody before your people, right, you put them before yourself. You know, so we have to do that. And our children have to see that because we live in a world right now, right, that when we get attacked, like you said, Baba, nobody shows up for our aid. Nobody shows up to have our best interests on our back. And they are murdering us and destroying us in these streets. Because what do? We care about everybody else but our own. It's a system design that's placed that way. We have to ask ourselves and question that. Why is it that we have so much trust issues when it comes to people that look just like you? Why can't we find a way to overcome our indifferences? Why do we got to make this person a villain because they look just like us? It's a system design. But it goes back to the thinking. Look at the whole institutional learning. Everything is based around us being vilified. You know, black man gets pulled over. The first thing person say out their mouth is, "Oh man, you know, he shouldn't have been doing this, shouldn't have been doing that." No, at the end of the day, he got pulled over and he got treated the way he got treated because the way that he looked, because he was stereotyped. You had the white officer stun gun the brother, pick him on the car, while he handcuffed, stun gun him again, right? Call him out his name, right? They trump up a bunch of charges on him, right? And what does society do, right? They look at it as entertainment purposes. Another black casualty, another black life, right, that's going to be mistreated, and black people are going to say, And they do that because they feel like we aren't going to do anything. Because every time we became revolutionary, they did something to douse our revolutionary flame. They gave us some little trinket, right, to say, I'm going to give you this, but keep my foot on your neck. The reality is, until we are away from them and done with them, they will always find ways to be able to put us back in that position of being submissive and being dependent on them. Ain't nothing changed. 50s, 40s, 1800s, ain't nothing changed. It just found a way to evolve to be able to advance them even further in their what? In their destiny and what they want. Until we realize that, we're gonna forever be slaves without chains.
Good point. But I want to it's something you said that I keep on hunting. Okay, are we good now? Yeah, okay. All right. So it was something that you said that made a lot of sense, Baba. You basically was making a statement, but you asked a question, and you was like, why can't we trust, the person look like us? Why we don't trust each other? And I think that's a profound question that has to be probed. We have to look at that because it's real. It's real. So you made that point. I want us to look at that real quickly, that point, and something else you hit on. You spoke about when we become revolutionary, you say they always give something to trinket that doubts to douse it some kind of way. Now, what I'll speak to that is this, and that goes back to the point I was talking about in terms of being clear. So we see, not to appear to be stepping on our ancestors. I never stepped on them. I like Dr. King and everybody came before us. They was great. And they served the purpose to get us to where we are now. Dr. King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, you name it, W.B. Du Bois, all of those individuals, Ella Baker, Betty Shabazz, you name it, Fannie Lou Hamer, all of them were instrumental in getting us here and getting us to a place where we are refining our clarity. The fundamental mistake that was made is that we spoke in terms of equality. We wanted something from them. See, the end goal was always the wrong goal. So that's the reason why you can put us to sleep, because even the language that we use, we wanted them to give us something. We wanted them to validate us in some kind of way. Now, the catch is this though. We've not always been that way. See, that was a time period when we pushed for separation, immigration from these people. So we got an army of brothers and sisters that's coming out of the 1700s and the 1800s that spoke differently. So from that time period, we're talking about around the early 1900s, 1905, up until then, we take a curve. A curve begins to happen. We begin to start saying we want equality. We want equity. We start saying stuff like that. We start saying we want, them to give us something. We want something from them. So yeah, if you give me the indication that I got the power to make you feel better, and I'm listening to what you're saying, and all you're really saying is you ask for something from me, and then if I'm already a wicked type of person, I'm just gonna say, you know what? Well, let's just get this to them. That's why they wanted something, and that's what they do. And they gave us something. They gave us little things, and those little things work the way that it was designed to work. The task for us is to do what George Jackson was talking about. It's to do what Jonathan Jackson was talking about. We have to raise the consciousness of people. We have to reframe the whole struggle. The whole struggle got to be reframed. That's where we at. We can't prosecute this struggle in the same framework that came out that time period. We got to reframe it, brothers and sisters. And that's the reason why you get the mamas and babas now of late, within the last 10, 15 years, to say African sovereignty. We're reframing it. We don't even say liberation, right? We said liberation back then, but we have to reframe it. Because liberation turned out to be what? It turned out to be the person who just want to hang out naked, nasty, and smoke the weed. You know what I'm saying? I just want to be liberated, to be a bum. So we have to reframe it with clarity, African sovereignty. So the whole struggle have to be reframed in the language. So that's why we don't say, slave trade. It's reframing it. It's enslavement, right? It's not the slave trade. It's the transatlantic kidnapping. Simple as that. It's not a plantation. It's a concentration camp. It's a reframing. And we started doing that slightly in the 60s. In the 60s, they was redefining that time period. And they came under attack. And we got kind of derailed coming through the Ronald Reagan time period. With all that crack and all that stuff, that bust us up again. So now we're in that point now where we got to reframe it. So yeah, it's a call for race first. You know, Baba Rudy say, Abiba for Hodie, Abiba Tumi, right? We're reframing it now. Amilcar Cabral said, what? Return to your source, right? He talked about how you win a revolutionary war, how you win a war of oppression. He says the oppressed people have to and must return to their own source. Because oppression is nothing but an extension of another people's culture upon you. That's what it is. Oppression is the suppression of your culture and the superimposing of another way of life on top of yours. That's what it is. Essentially, that's what it is. Because everything within society is cultural. Economic, education, you name it, is all cultural. So oppression is when a people's culture is suppressed and another people superimpose their way upon you and subsequently enforce you to adhere to their way because they got the power to do so. Therein lies the oppression. Amilcar Cabral realized that. And he said, return to your source. Because the moment we start returning to our way, you got to throw off and cast off the ways of another. You can't return to yourself and hold on to the ways of the other. You can only be yourself. You can't be you and them at the same time. The Boers talked about that and Delaney talked about that. You can't be you and them at the same time. That's good. You can only be you. You gotta cast them out of you. And that's the work. That's the work of the 21st century. Return to the source and pursue African sovereignty. We're not asking for equality. Not asking for that. Why would I want to be equal to somebody who came into existence thousands of years after me? Why? That's crazy. That's like the mother said, I want to be equal to my daughter. You insane, mother. Your daughter came after you. You insane to think you want to be equal to her. You and her will never be equal. You're never going to be the same. When she turned 40, you 65. Right? So we can't never look at that which came after you and say you want to be equal to that. No. And that's the mistake. That was one of the mistakes among many, but for clarity, we learned a whole lot from that time period. A lot of methodologies was on point. And we can take from all of that and use it as we move forward today. But I just wanted to add that, because you put that out there, Adis, I was like, but before we close out, why do we distrust? Why do black people distrust black people?
Mama Tiombe, Baba Shagu,
We got time, Baba. We got about 8 more minutes left on this?
Yeah.
We got enough time to get to this.
I believe we don't trust each other because we don't appreciate who we are or know who we are. And I think that trust is a social dynamic that evolves out of you trusting who you are and what's inside of you. If you don't have a true, authentic trust about what's inside of you, then you're not going to trust anything that's an extension of you. Because you're not going to recognize what's an extension of you, which is your people. So it's difficult for that to happen, and because we have been made antisocial, and Barbara just spoke about the imposition of another culture upon you. That's trauma. That creates damage. That creates injuries. So your psyche is not right. Your orientation about who you are not right. You're walking around. It's like a person going down the street and he get busted in the head. His head is split open. He's leaking. He's disorientated. He don't know whether he's going to or fro. He don't know whether he's going to live or die. You think I'm saying? So, and it's hard for that person to recognize what's before them because they are not in a right state of mind because of such a traumatic injury to them. And that's the reasons why we don't trust each other. We don't really, we are so traumatized by being in this culture that we don't know that we're traumatized. We think that our trauma began in our household and not understand that our household have been systematically manufactured by the culture of this society to be traumatic, to be pathological, to be destructive. So that's what creates that level of chronic distrust because you can't just get rid of it. You just can't get rid of it. You just can't brush it up under the thing. You know, some people say, "Oh, yeah, I trust black people," but really, they don't trust us to the extent that they should because they don't invest in each other. You know, and you can never grow economically if a person or people don't invest in each other. Hotel.
What's up? Come on,
Ashay,
Smoke.
Ashay. I'm gonna add on to that. The chronic distress that we have is very much by design and has been created and developed and cultivated over the generations that we've been in contact with Europeans, right? Because they are a people of scarcity. They are a people of treachery. They are a people of thievery, of robbery, of a lack of harmony, right? They are a people of an either or. They're not an and type of people. They're not a harmonious type of people. And so when they have entered into our space, when they've entered into our space and enacted that oppression upon us, because our culture is a culture of ma'at. We have a culture of balance. We have a culture of harmony, of unity, right? That is what we do naturally. It's our natural born inclination. And that has been suppressed through that oppression that we're talking about right now. So our natural inclination is to help my sister, to help my brother. But what happens when this oppressor has come in and stripped you of everything you have known, everything that you have had, of that abundance that you are used to, right? That abundance that the entire community has poured into to cultivate so that everyone can have a piece. Now there's only one for everybody. That one, somebody gonna race to get that before anybody else gets it, right? And so in dealing with that, in the design of the oppressor and creating these systems and creating these environments that have gone on for generations after generations, that's what happens. That's what happens over time. And they're crafty. It's by design. It's by design that they allow certain people to get into places of prestige, right? It's by design that they allow certain people to get into political positions, right? Because that helps to keep the smoke and mirrors going that, oh yeah, we treat you all have the same opportunities, right? We're in the land of opportunity. Everybody has the same shot. That is a lie. That is a fallacy. It is untrue. But it works for them because that's the trinket that continues to douse the revolutionary flame, right? And so oppression is something that it's the seed that grows and cultivates distrust amongst African people.
Cool.
Bring
So
the fire, girl. Bring the fire.
real
And
quick.
I,
So
oh, go ahead.
both of you done such an excellent job. So before we get out of here, because I don't want to leave the people with why we distrust, but I also want to offer for our people how we can reverse that. Right? Because my question is, I'm going to assume that we trust each other, correct? Those of us here together, I'm going to assume that we trust each
Absolutely.
other. So we know that black people can trust one another. So for our audience that may be listening in and that may feel that they struggle with trust, what can we offer our people in the area of building black trust?
So I want to add to that. That was going to be my piece. You know, what's the antidote? And one of the antidotes that I would suggest from the way we think. So there is an urban philosophical law, the 35th law, or maybe the 36th law. It talks about self-mastery, right? We got to know who we are. Then we got to know who's amongst us. That's going to build trust. That's going to build connection, vulnerability. But the ways that we do that is through Black socialization. That's a part of our antidote. Black socialization, Black economics. We got to be able to exchange what we consider wealth, whether it's resources, whether it's bartering, whether it's sharing, whether it's caring, whether it's nurturing our young people. Socialization, Black socialization is definitely one of the antidotes to help build and reestablish trust amongst each other. Communal, mutual aid, all of those things, these are things that we do in our community in PLM that establishes and reestablishes trust. Because trust and believe, everybody has a process. And when they come into this thing, some folks come on different levels. Some folks like, oh, nah, they don't even want a hug. In PLM, when we used to have the study classes, everybody would get a hug when you came in. Some people like, oh, nah, don't touch me. But even that breaks down those barriers. Being able to say, oh, I can get a 20-second hug from Baba, say, ooh, I'm going to feel good. That connection. This society will take us away from that actual human connection as Black people. So Black socialization is definitely one of the antidotes to building trust.
Let me hop in for like 30 seconds. Because I was watching, Baba, one of your videos, and you mentioned one of the models. We still have it as a model. So I ain't going to call it an old model. But you said that the model is Pan-African solidarity is the key to Pan-African. I'm messing up. Pan-African solidarity is the key to Pan-African. What's Lord have mercy, forgot the last word. Progress. Help me out, somebody. Hell, y'all on the Zoom tonight. Help brother out.
He was fired up for a second. Come on, Pads.
I know Pan-African solidarity is the key to Pan-African
progress.
Progress? Is it progress?
Liberation. There you go. Liberation. It's the movement. Liberation.
All right. So the point I want to hold on to, because now I'm beyond my 30 seconds. The point I wanted to hone in on is the aspect of solidarity. Yeah. And in the one of our former DVDs that we have out, Bob mentioned what is the difference between solidarity and unity. The difference is that you are engaging and you're locked into a struggle with somebody. You're going through things together. When you're building a relationship, marriage, a business relationship, a revolutionary type of relationship, all that has to be forged through trial and error. It got to be forged through some people making mistakes, some people making some errors, but you work through it with each other. You try to get it right. You don't give up. You don't throw in the towel. You don't give up on the movement. You don't say, I had enough. I'm done. I'm tired. You got to keep enduring. Yeah. So when it comes to the solution is your ability and your capacity to endure. And if you need to, you want to make sure that you are around people that give you that particular motivation.
That communal aspect. Let's get it.
Right, so last thing I like to say, Bob, real quick, is how we show up for each other. That's going to build the trust. We got to show up for each other, even in our indifferences. When we see people are struggling, we can't take everybody's struggle personal. We got to find a way to persevere and push through.
I say, appreciate that. I appreciate y'all. Closing remarks. They was on point. And I knew we had to say something, for our audience in terms of offering that solution. And all of what you said was correct. Like trust is forged. We have to forge trust, and we can't allow an isolated experience become the blanket that we throw on everybody. We have to be mature enough to know that this was just an isolated situation and it doesn't apply to everybody, and have to be willing to engage a process over time through its hardships so we can develop and forge the trust. Because once the trust is forged, at the most basic level, nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop you. And we got to get back to that place. So yes, it's now 10:05. We will be closing out soon. Do any of you have any announcement you want to put to the floor before we close out? Brother Dakari?
Yeah, I had wanted to get in with that last aspect, because a lot of times people think that what we're doing for our people is community activism. And that's the wrong way to look at it. Because what we're dealing with is life and death. We don't see ourselves as mothers and fathers fighting for the good of all of our children. And I believe if we looked at it like that, trust wouldn't be such a big issue. And so at the end of the day, we have to be able to see it as that. It's not extracurricular. You know, we're not signing our names on the sheet to volunteer for something. We're dealing with life and death. Because the more we don't do, the more we die. If we see it like that, it's not going to be this much complications about it. The other thing I wanted to add in there was what we doing with this liberation work, with this African sovereignty work, is spiritual. Because a lot of times people will separate that. We believe that spirituality is like, you know, lighting the sage, you know, cross your legs, meditating. You know, these things are an aspect of it, but we got to be able to see that all that healing work and ritual work don't mean nothing if we constantly going out into society that's reversing that. You know, it's not done to do that. You know, it's supposed to be done to help us and benefit us, not something for us to be, you know, getting uprooted. And so, you know, with this aspect of trust, I just believe we have to be able to see our situation like with a very serious mind. And we can't undermine stuff by saying, you know, community activism, or yeah, them people, they just gung-ho about, you know, being militant. You know, why are we so militant? And so to me, to be able to build trust, we got to be able to look at our situation like life and death. We don't got no other choice but to rely on each other. And if some people not really able to rely on, put them to the side. But we can't never give up on the whole situation.
That was a great point. And so yeah, let me just say before I get on, it slipped my mind. I want to say this first and foremost. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 members of PLM that's putting out books from the month of November and December. Most definitely, you know, we most definitely encourage you. Reach out to us, see how you can get these books, because we're not grabbing nothing from our hips. We're not just playing with this thing. Like, we're putting down some real life solutions inside these books to move our people forward, you know, towards that sovereignty. So we got Mama Tiambe got a couple books dropping this month real soon. Baba Disa got, you know, his book that's dropping this month. You know, Mama Gina book, 2 books just dropping. Mama Ife have 2 books that's dropping. So so most definitely connect with us. And just know we here, man. We are here, and we appreciate you for chiming in. So look forward to us the first Thursday and the third Thursday of every month. We're going to do some talks to see if our people are up for coming once a week, but I don't know if we're there yet, but I'm hoping we can get to once a week. You know, I'm throwing it out there, you know, I'm trying to loop them in, you know. But anyway,
got the website.
You know, as always, man, we love y'all. Keep coming back, keep sharing the work that we do. Stick with us, and let's save some lives. And with that, we want to thank you for tuning in to the School of Urban Philosophy, where we always straight up, straightforward, and straight to the point. And we look forward to seeing each and every one of you on our next episode. Bibi Fodier.
Bibi Fodier.
Bibi Fodier.
Every day.